how actors do this thing. So, all right, so welcome everybody, and glad you could join us this evening for the latest in our series of events associated with our fall residency program. I'm Abby Lewis, the Executive Director here at Bethany Arts Community, and we are very happy tonight to have composer in residence Seong Ae Kim here with us for a talk and performance. So for those of you who do not know, our multidisciplinary residency program invites artists from all over the world, artists in many different mediums, from composers and writers and visual artists and poets and you name it, who are in all various phases of their careers and who come from all parts of the world. And they come to Bethany for a period of time in which to live and work and share experiences and hopefully spark some new ideas while they work on either new pieces or works in process. And all of this is made possible through the generous support of the National Endowment for the Arts, the New York Council on the Arts, Arts Westchester, and of course, the generous support of donors. So thank you all for joining us. Tonight, as I said, we have Seong Ae Kim. And Seong is a Korean-born composer. She's based in New York City, and she's received commissions from internationally acclaimed ensembles and soloists such as the Left Coast Chamber Ensemble, Forward Music Project, Ensemble Maison, Ensemble Pan, Multicultural Sonic Evolution, Josh Perry, and many others. Her works have been presented at Composers Conference at Brandeis, the Women Composers Festival of Hartford, the New York Women Composers Festival, International Double Reed Society or Conference in Tokyo, Japan, Audio Training Manual Festival in Seoul, South Korea, to name a few. Her music has been performed internationally on stages including Merkenhall Concert, Opera America's National Opera Center, Herbert von Karajan Centrum in Vienna, Seoul Arts Center in Seoul, the National Olympic Memorial Youth Center in Tokyo, and the list goes on. So during the past 5 years, Seong Ae's work has been acutely focused on amplifying issues of self-truth and voicing social justice concerns. Compositions such as #MeToo in 2018, The Other Untold Story in 2019, Per Se in 2018, and Collocation in 2018 are self-confessional in nature. These 4 pieces aim to tell her own past experiences, her own past breakthroughs, and to create safe spaces to share vulnerabilities that connect us all as humans. And so with that, Seong Ae, so much happy to have you here.
Thank you. Hi. Yeah, I come from Korea, and I lived here, New York City area since 2004, so it's been a while. And I want to start my presentation with a piece called Collocation for solo percussionists, if you can. Yeah. That's right. You see here a picture showing different percussion instruments. And in the center, you see a Korean traditional percussion instrument called 장구. That's usually played horizontally this way rather than, vertically. But there is a reason why I put the 장구 other way, because I was born in Korea, but in that society, I felt like, somehow, at times like I'm misfitting in that place. And sometimes I felt like, people wanted to play myself, me, like let's say I'm an instrument, and they wanted me to be horizontally performed when I can do so much better and so much more interesting vertically performed. So here I am. So this piece is sort of like a self-portrait for me. And then here you see also a little parts of marimba. That's the very low part of marimba, and that part of marimba is not played so much like compared to the other parts of marimba. You hear lots of like high register, but then this bass part is like almost neglected. But then for me, that's the best part of the instrument, and somehow I felt like that too. And then there's also one more instrument that I want to mention. That's on this side. That's a broken bongos. That's right. Broken bongos, you know, that actually belongs to maybe trash can. We brought it and like upcycled and made a new instrument out of it, and we called it iguana roar. It makes a good roar sound, you know. And somehow a part of me was also felt that way, you know. I gathered all parts of me that was neglected and maybe trashed at you know, a certain time of my life, and I found a new meaning of it and made it sound and made it make music out of it. So this is one of the pieces that falls into category of self-confessional pieces. So the list goes on, like Abby actually mentioned the list of the pieces that are self-confessional. And I'm gonna play one piece that's also a self-confessional piece. It's called #MeToo. It's composed in 2018. I was molested as a child, and it took me like over 25 years actually to talk about it for the first time with my therapist. And I didn't even know what it meant, you know. And then as an adult, I had to process that traumatic experience and really thought through what it means to me. And that experience, like I couldn't even describe things with words or any image, but the sound was very alive in me. So I decided to tell my story through the sounds. In this piece, you hear a lot of emotional sound. I still cry when I listen to this piece because it really rings with my emotion that's still somewhat alive. So I want to share this piece with you. There's a video recording of it, and I'm going to play it, and then I'll come back and talk more. Thank you. I especially love the ending of the piece. It's a silent glissando coming down this way on marimba. So there's basically no sound, but you feel like you're hearing something. And then next piece is a little different. And always story helps. So I'm gonna tell you about this piece and the story that sort of inspired me to write this piece. It's called Fever Dream for bassoon and piano, and it's freshly cooked and baked. it just premiered last weekend, so my newest baby. So I was once stuck in an elevator, and there was rescue right away, and came to get me out of the elevator. So what we tried was the guy outside of the elevator was trying to open the door manually, pulling the door. It didn't work. And then I tried. Didn't work. And then after a while of trying, we finally pulled the door together at the same time, and it worked. So I was out of the elevator. And then I had like this aha moment. We always talk about this social justice issues and like how can we make change in our society and how can we make impact. And then and like we try our best with whatever we have, but then it doesn't work, right? And finally, when we try together, it might work. Just like my experience, being stuck in the elevator. So in this piece, you see two performers. One is bassoonist, and the other one is pianist. And there are two short pieces, like two movements. The first one is called Together Alone. What they do is they play a soloistic passages. So they kind of play together, but they are more solos. And they play like in almost like a narcissistic way, like this is how I do, Let me fix the situation. I know about racism. I know what's going on. I can fix this, right? So like, in almost like a narcissistic way, like the soloist plays whatever they want to play. You will also hear, actually, bassoonist and pianist, they play sort of a slightly different musical style. That also, it's like a metaphor of, everybody has like their own way of trying, right? And then in the second movement, it's called synchronize, and I want to put like parentheses and like put like lots of words in the parentheses, synchronize with compassion, synchronize with understanding and listening and all that good stuff, right? So in the second movement, they finally play together and finally make an art. So we're gonna listen to this piece, and I'm sure you'll have a lot of questions about this too, right? So I'll come back. Thank you. Yeah, we all gotta start somewhere, and you know, that's good enough sometimes. Okay, next piece and the last piece. We have here beautiful setup. I wrote a piece for one instrument, that's cymbal. And you will see the magic and all different kind of sound that comes out of this small instrument. Now this piece is called Side Blow for solo percussion improviser. There is a saying in Korean language, 고래 싸움에 새우등 터진다, meaning when two whales get into fight, the shrimp will bust. Meaning, you know, always the most powerless person gets side blow. Yeah. So the idea of the piece started from there, and I really wanted to, you know, report and like, I got really angry about, you know, incidents that's happening around me, especially regarding Asian hate crime. So this piece is a heavily metaphorical piece. So I'm going to explain a little bit what all that means, and when you actually hear the piece, I hope you can follow that. So the first section, there's these little beans on the face of cymbal, and they will eventually fall off from the cymbal. And that metaphor like came from the imagery of like children being separated from their family, and you know, because of the immigration law change, and also people losing their living ground. And especially in my neighborhood in Queens, in New York City where I live, there were so many incidents that ICE was going door to door to get undocumented people and really, you know, try to get out those people out of the country. And my dad actually, he was born in North Korea, and during the Korean War, his family escaped from north to south, and his family came on a rowboat, you know, like rowing boat, and there were people like, you know, trying to get on the boat and, you know, fell to the water. And we also saw the pictures from, you know, recent news, like Kabul airport scene. You know, people would climb to get on the plane, but you know, eventually they'll fall. So all those imageries are in this section. So we'll see the beans falling down to the ground, on the floor, and they represent the children and the powerless ones that live amongst us and around us. Now, next section, you will see a lot of hand gestures played on the cymbal and a beater, and that section represents the physical violence that was done to Asian people, like especially during the COVID. And of course, you know, the most powerless people who are, for instance, elderly, were beaten down on the street. And that's like basically highest insult for Asian community, because, you know, we hold like such a high respect to old people. So you'll see some, you know, hand gestures, like really beating the cymbal. And of course it will sound pretty, but you know, that's all what that means. Now, next section, you will see the tuning fork played on the cymbal, and that's a metaphor of gaslighting. So emotional abuse, and of course like manipulation and all that stuff, and being bullied. And who gets bullied the most? The most powerless one, right? Yeah. And then lastly, you'll see the section played with a bow. Here is the bow. And you hear the cry and scream of the cymbal. And that means these all powerless people finally gets awakened, and those muted soul finally awakens and starts to voicing themselves. So here is Josh Perry, percussionist, playing the piece for us. And hope you enjoy. You'll have thousands of questions after this piece. This is fascinating. So, yeah. thank you so much. So yeah, that's it. I'll take some questions if you have, or comments, or any feedback. Mm-hmm.
When you have the idea for the concept of a piece,
Mm-hmm.
do you typically know right away which instrument or instruments you want to use?
So yes and no. So these days, my pieces are mostly done by commission. So whatever commission I get, that's gonna be the medium of my work. But within, given instruments, I have to find the sound that's true to me to express the message that I want to convey. So that's, so yes and no, yeah. I guess it works, at the same time together, both ways.
So are you saying that the bassoon piano was decided to be bassoon? Because that's not the usual virtuoso kind of accompaniment, and you went for a very strong sound in the bassoon. Was it decided?
That's right. So this piece, the commission came from the bassoonist who played. And she wanted a piece for a long time, and finally it happened. But double reed in general, like oboe, bassoon, are one of the oldest instruments. So they're very effective playing old music, more traditional music. But for playing extended technique and more new sound, I had to work a lot with her. So therefore it's called collaboration. It goes back and forth. Can you play this? Do you think this is possible? And when she says maybe not, then we have to find a way to make it work. So it goes back and forth many times. Yeah, I mean, of course, compared to bass clarinet that you heard first, bassoon has more limitation, but still within that limitation, I think I found some good sound. Mm-hmm. Does that answer your question? Yeah.
Talk a little bit about how she was playing the piano when she wasn't using the keys, when she was reaching over the top.
Yes, good question. So there's this little gadget called EBO. It produces sounds by laser. Yeah. So without touching the instrument, this gadget will make sound come out of the instrument. So she was doing that. Because this is a recording and its room is very has a lot of sound in here, so it kind of almost sounded like a little bit of feedback, but that's what it sound produced. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I appreciate that question because it was very subtle sound that was played behind in the background. Yes, that's it. Yeah. So there's also a metaphor in it, even with that little bit of support, the bassoonist felt really supported, when she was playing her solo. So meaning again, alone, together alone, with that little bit of support, it does something. Okay. Mm-hmm. Any other questions? Is there any questions in Zoom? Okay, cool.
How did it feel for you to have the hashtag #MeToo piece played by men?
Yeah, so in general, all the pieces that I wrote with, my self-confessional stories, when I actually hear those pieces, it's very satisfying because I feel I finally said something I wanted to say, you know, like although it's not in words, but you know, through the sound, I feel like, you know, I said what I needed to say. Yeah, and even that process was, it took a long time and courage. So I guess, yeah, for Me Too, hashtag Me Too, like just putting something out there with that title was already good enough for me. You know, it's not a secret anymore. I can share it with you.
All right, are there any other questions?
You're welcome to
All right.
visit me in my studio next week. and any collaboration is welcomed. Thank you. Thank you.
I love it.
for
Seong Ae,
listening.
thank you so much. What a pleasure. And just for everybody who's here, of course, the residents know we've got a whole series of events that are through the rest of this week, with the last events from this group of residency artists on Friday. And then the last in our fall series of residency programs, we have Liz Lerman here for the first 2 weeks of November and doing 3 programs there. So check out the website and sign up. And thank you, everyone, for coming. Good night.